gotta be like take 550. This intro is whooping my ass. You know what else whooped my ass? Is this dough recipe. And if it happens again, we're just gonna get some from the store. Welcome back to the kitchen, everybody. This is your boy, the Mad Chef, and this is another episode of Unhinged Holiday Cooking. And if you haven't read the title, today we're going to be making bear claws. Or as they say up north, bear claws. But we're not going to be doing any sort of TikTok viral hacks, no puff pastry, no pre-made fillings or anything like that. We're going to do it the right way, from scratch. And guys, I figured out what I did wrong the last time that I made this dough, so we're going to be making everything from scratch. Don't bring anything else from the store, pre-packaged, pre-made, to your Christmas table. I'm going to show you how to steal the show, whether at Christmas breakfast or at the dessert table at Christmas dinner. We're going to be making everything from scratch. If you don't know about these, then you need to watch, because this is going to be the very best cinnamon almond pastry you'll ever be able to put in your mouth. Happy holidays.
It's time to make the pastry dough the right way this time. Alright, first thing is going to be our wet ingredients, and that is 2/3 of a cup of milk. And after that, we're going to be adding to it 1 large egg. You want all this liquid to be cold because we don't want our yeast to bloom just yet. Alright, and then to it, we're going to be adding in 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar and 1/2 teaspoon of regular table salt, 1 packet or 2 1/4 teaspoons of instant or rapid rise yeast, and then goes in 2 cups of all-purpose flour. This is the order that the ingredients need to go in to make the proper dough. This is going to be a dense and thick sort of pastry dough. That's why puff pastry doesn't work with stuff like this. And then you can see me go ahead and start introducing all of these items over a low stirring speed. And then you're going to see me just come back and forth trying to work some of that dry dough off the side with my rubber spatula. And before we do that, we're going to add in just 1/2 teaspoon of real vanilla extract. Now this is not part of the original dough recipe, but like I said before in other baking videos, good vanilla is the difference between a bland pastry and something that tastes a little more professional. We don't want to color the taste of our dough here, but that little bit of vanilla is going to elevate this. Otherwise, it's just going to be more or less a bland butter pastry. And once we've gotten all of our nice ingredients combined and off the side of our bowl, like we said me do here, because I want to make sure that everything is very well hydrated, we're going to go ahead and start mixing this on a medium high speed, somewhere between 4 and 6. I usually try to keep it between 4, and we're going to knead this for about 5 minutes. All right, and after 5 minutes, we should have a very smooth dough mass. If I can remember to unlock the bowl here, and there we go. And this is just going to come right off. I'm not exactly sure why my dough split into 2 pieces, so all I'm going to do now is form it into one cohesive dough ball, and then let it rest in the mixer bowl with a tea towel over it for about 30 minutes. And then after that 30-minute wait, we're going to put it into the fridge for 2 hours. And while that's chilling, let's go ahead and focus on our filling. All right, let's make this almond bear claw filling. Guys, I'm going to show you 2 ways to do this. One that's completely from scratch and one that uses some store-bought almond paste, homemade first, as always. In this container is 1 1/2 cups of blanched almond flour, and in my infinite tiredness and wisdom, I added in 1 1/2 cups of completely unsifted powdered sugar, rocks and all. I'm telling you guys, I nearly lost my mind trying to make this. But don't worry, those rocks kind of work themselves out. And then after everything is very well introduced, which doesn't take too long, we're going to add in 1 tablespoon of regular tap water, and then 1 large egg white. And this is going to be the turning point for our filling. It's going to start turning into something of a dry, clumpy dough almost. All right, and once we got that kind of work together and it's starting to become a little hard on the whisk, we're going to go ahead and add in 2 teaspoons of real almond extract. Again, this is very almond forward, so if that's not your thing, you might not want to make this. But it's absolutely wonderful, and it smells like amaretto in the house, which is amazing. But the other cool thing about this almond extract is it's going to give us enough moisture to get it to that pasty sort of shaggy dough consistency, which is exactly what we're looking for here. So after I've gotten it to the point where it's starting to kind of crumble and make a rough dough, and it's starting to work against my whisk, I'm going to go ahead and add in 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon. I probably should have put this in before now, but hey, it still turned out okay. And that's what matters here. So I want to go ahead and try to get that combined in as well as possible. At this point, the whisk really isn't doing much good, so I switched out to a rubber spatula. And always, guys, don't forget to salt your desserts. It's a next level move that'll take you really far. You don't need much either. That was just a dash of kosher salt. And then afterward, I'm just going to treat this like a dough. And I'm going to roll it into a nice little ball, just like this. And then we're going to roll it up in some plastic wrap, which I'm not going to show you how I do that because I kill every plastic wrap I come across, and label it, put it in the fridge, and then we're going to start working on almond filling number 2, which uses store-bought almond paste. All right, let's get started on almond filling number 2 using this fantastic Solo almond paste that I found at Walmart. It's not super expensive. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check it out. I know I preach a lot about making your own stuff, but this really didn't save me any time or any convenience. But let's go through it anyways. And this container is a half a cup of all-purpose flour, and then just like last time, we're adding in a cup and a half of powdered sugar. These processes are going to look nearly identical at first. We're going to go ahead and combine this together. We got a few things we got to do before we can even introduce that almond paste. After everything is nice and combined, I'm going to go ahead and add in that ground cinnamon, 1 teaspoon. Because the last one didn't get incorporated as well as I would have liked, so we're going to fix that right now. And then after we get all of our nice cinnamon combined, we're going to go ahead and add in this beautiful brick of almond paste. And guys, I'm telling you, I am 110% unhinged while making this, because I totally forgot I had an immersion blender that acts as a hand mixer with the whisk attachment. I was going to use that to cut this almond paste into the flour, but I totally forgot to use it. We're going to go ahead and add in some liquid ingredients to kind of make this roll a little bit better. Again, 1 tablespoon of tap water and a large egg white. And as you can see, I'm getting my ass royally handed to me by this almond paste. So we're going to switch out that whisk for a wooden spoon, and we're going to start cutting this into the flour manually. Now guys, if you have a food processor, you could toss all this in a food processor just like this, and it would come together super quickly, unlike what I'm doing here. But I don't even know why I didn't even think of my food processor even. Again, I'm losing my mind. So after we got all of that included, and we've got sort of a shaggy-ish looking dough, we've just barely cut in all of our almond paste into the flour and sugar. We're going to go ahead and add in those 2 teaspoons of almond extract. And again, just like last time, not only is that going to add the flavor, but it's going to go ahead and give us that extra hydration we need to make it into a smooth paste. And we're just going to go ahead and keep stirring it in until it looks like a uniform, sort of loose, shaggy dough. And after we do that, we're going to, of course, salt our filling just the same way with just a generous, not even a generous, but a light sprinkle of kosher salt. And we're going to mix that in, and we're going to, just like last time, we're going to treat it like a dough. We're going to form it into a ball, wrap it into some nice shrink wrap, plastic wrap, label it a little bit differently, put it in the fridge for a couple hours, and then we're going to get back to our pastry dough. And here is the dough. Now this had about 3 hours in the fridge at this point, which is totally fine. You can choose to bulk ferment this dough up to overnight if you would like. And here you see me using the world's smallest rolling pin trying to flatten this thing out, because apparently at some point my house got hungry and decided to eat the big wooden one I like to use. Oh, the calamity. We're not doing anything too complicated here. We're just going to roll this out into a rough rectangle shape, about 1/4 of an inch thick. And once you have a flattened dough mass that looks something like this, we're going to put it to the side and work on our butter. All right, this is a butter pastry. So in this bag, I have 2 sticks of cold, unsalted butter that I just pulled out of the fridge. And what we're going to do now is pound this sucker out into a nice, thin butter slab, rectangular butter slab, which is why I'm keeping it in this Ziploc. Plus, it's great stress relief for this video. And once we have a mass pounded out that looks a lot like this, we're going to take it up to our rolled out pastry dough and make sure that it fits snugly within the confines of the bottom half. And now that we know that our butter fits, we're going to open that Ziploc and put our butter slab into the bottom half of our fresh pastry dough. And then we're going to be cutting the butter into the dough in a very unique lamination method. You've seen me do lamination before on this channel, but not quite like this. So the first thing I'm going to do is take the other half of the rolled pastry dough and put it over top of the butter. And you're going to see me seal the ends and all the seams to make sure we don't lose any of that beautiful butter. And once we have everything sealed and flattened out, we're going to fold this like a hand towel. First things first, we're going to turn it about 90 degrees, if I can figure out where the heck that is from here. And then we're going to take a third of that pastry dough and roll it in. And then we're going to take the other third on the other end and fold it over the top third. And then after that, we're going to move it another 90 degrees, and then we're going to just fold it on top. And during the process of all this, it's important to make sure that as we're folding our dough up like a towel, that we keep all of our ends sealed and pressed down. This is the first round of lamination. So now you're going to see me casually annihilate some shrink wrap. And then we're going to put this in the fridge for about 20 minutes. And after that 20 minutes is up, we're going to take the dough back out, re-laminate it the very same way you just saw me do, put it in the fridge for another 20 minutes, and then we can get to assembly. And we have the dough fresh out of the fridge from its second 20-minute cycle after the second lamination. So you know what this means. It's time to roll it out into its final form. So I've lightly dusted my work surface with a little all-purpose flour, and we're going to do the very same thing to the top of our buttery dough and our hands in the smallest rolling pin known to man. And what you're seeing me do here is just taking a light pounding to this pastry dough. What that's going to do is going to wake up the butter. It's going to make it start to warm up and become more malleable. And whenever you're rolling out this dough that has all this butter cut into it via lamination, you have to be very careful with how much pressure you're putting across this, because too much pressure from your rolling pin is going to cause butter to bleed out from your pastry dough, which could cause all of your butter to leak out during baking and ruining potentially your pastry crust. So I'll be doing different series of beatings and gentle rolling to get this to where we need to be. And we're looking for roughly a 15-inch by 15-inch rectangle piece of dough. I didn't quite get it 15 by 15. It is 15 long, but not quite 15 wide. And what you're seeing me do here with this pizza cutter is I'm going to try my best to cut these out into 5 by 5 squares. Now, I know this is not going to be exactly accurate, but I want to do the best I can. And this provided me with 6 somewhat close pastry sections. So what I'm going to do now is take that pizza cutter and cut off that remaining excess dough, clean it up a little bit. There's going to be a couple that's smaller, but we can make this work. All right, and before we can even put on this lovely almond paste filling inside of our pastry squares, we're going to go ahead and give it a quick dusting with a tablespoon of ground cinnamon and granulated sugar mixed together. The reason why we're doing this is the amount of cinnamon that's in the almond paste filling is not going to be enough to properly flavor our pastry. Again, it's very almond forward and very cinnamon forward. So we're just going to put down this nice cinnamon sugar mixture before we add on our almond paste filling. And what this is going to do is it's going to melt into the almond paste while we're cooking, and it's also going to perfume and flavor that pastry as it's cooking, so you get a really nutty and cinnamony, hearty sort of bite. All right, and the first almond paste filling you see me handling right here is our from scratch, completely homemade almond filling. And what you're going to see me do here is take a piece off and then roll it into a thinner log. You got to be really careful about this, because if the filling is too thick or too long for the pastry confines, the amount of space that you have within, then it's not going to bake properly. It's going to leak out, and you could potentially tear your pastry dough. As you can see right here, it's still a bit too big. The thinner, the better. You can always add more almond paste if it's not enough. If it's too much, you could potentially ruin your pastry altogether. So this took a little bit of practice for me to work. But I finally got it down after a little bit. The one thing you also must realize is when you're working with butter pastry, you have to get it done quickly and effectively. In this first pastry that you see me running, I've re-rolled it a couple times. I've worked it a little too much, and the butter is starting to come out. That's not good. So we got to be accurate and quick, because we do not want any butter loss, because that could potentially ruin our bear claws here. Okay, it's time to move on to dog turd number 2, otherwise known as almond paste filling number 2, that used the solo almond paste we found in the store, and pretty much the rolling instructions are going to be pretty much the same. We're going to cut off a little piece, roll it into a thin log, but I'm going to show you a little bit more in detail on how to make these pastries and roll them properly, because I finally caught on how to do it by the time I was done with the first 3. Again, this is my first time making these, and it's a lot of trial and error. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a nice thin piece of our almond paste filling. As you can see, it still takes a little bit of practice to get it right. And then we're going to go ahead and fold it into that nice butter pastry very quickly, sealing the seams. And then we're going to take the flat end, opposite of the filling, press it down. Look at all those corners I'm trying to tuck in, and very quickly. Time is of the essence. Then I'm going to turn it over and then pat it down to make room for where the toes go. And then you're going to repeat this process for all of your bear claws. So the next step comes in. We're going to make little toes because obviously these are shaped like feet. All right, so we're going to try to get these as evenly spaced as possible, but do your best. These are not going to be perfect, and it's very rarely that you will find one that's absolutely perfect. So we're going to keep scoring these, cutting completely through the dough, making sure that we do not lacerate any surface area that has that filling. Otherwise, it's going to bleed out in the baking process, and you're not going to have a good time. Alright, so now it's time to move on to the last step, and I've got my nice bear claw pastries on these baking sheets, and then I'm going to apply a generous coating of egg wash, which is nothing more than 1 large egg and a splash of water mixed together. Alright guys, it's time to be honest. If these don't turn out well, I'm going to at least try to sell them on OnlyFans, because you know, feet pics sell. Heh, gotta do what I gotta do. Anyhow, so after we get all of our beautiful pastries all nice and washed up with that egg wash, we're going to go in with some sliced almonds. These are not optional. Every self-respecting bear claw known to man has a nice topping of sliced almonds on it. So this is going to adhere very well to that egg wash. So we're giving these bear claws a little bit of a pedicure. Fancify them, if you would. Alright, and I even went as far as putting little bitty toenails on the other bear claws, as you can clearly see me doing right here. I mean, because come on, guys, the holidays are right around the corner. I got to do what I got to do to get some Christmas money. OnlyFans, bear claws, bear toes. Anyhow, we're going to put the rest of these almonds on top, and then we've got our oven preheating to 375 degrees, and after they're all nice and dressed up, we're going to put these in there for roughly 13 to 17 minutes. All right, and so while we are waiting on our beautiful bear claw pastries to bake up in the oven, we're going to go ahead and make the glaze. I'm honestly kind of scared of how these are going to turn out because of how much incident I've run into with making these and shaping these and all the butter loss. I'm afraid these are going to turn out more like Frankenfeet as opposed to respectable bear claws. So at least we can get this amazing glaze right. So in this measuring cup is 1 cup of powdered sugar, and to it I'm going to be adding 1 tablespoon, at least to start out with. We're going to be putting this icing in a squirt bottle to get accurate design on there. And then we're going to go ahead and start mixing this in. I'm going to keep the milk handy because I need to thin this out. It needs to be thick enough to make a nice pattern on our bear claws, but thin enough to squeeze out. And I'm also going to add in just a touch of vanilla. And we want to keep working this until we get a consistency somewhat like this. And then simply, we are going to go ahead and pour it into our squeeze bottle and wait for our bear claws to finish up. Once those bear claws are done, we're going to let them sit for about 15 minutes, let them cool down enough, and then we are going to frost them and eventually eat them. Alright, it took 17 minutes, but would you look at these bad boys right here? Those are proper bear claws, and I'm finally relieved at what I'm seeing here. They look beautiful. So now we're just going to go ahead and paint a nice zigzag of our icing across all of these, and in a second, after I get done dressing all of these, I want to turn this baking tray to you and show you what magical Christmas treats we've created. They turned out, all of my baking anxieties are gone, and this was totally and completely worth it first time through, guys. Look at that. Those are proper bear claws. So we're going to let these guys cool down for another 15 minutes to make sure that icing sets, and then we're going to try them. And guys, the house smells amazing. These look amazing. Look at that zoom in. Look at these sexy feet. Come on now. All right, that being said, we're going to let these cool and try them out.
All right, everybody, the wait is over. These guys are done. If you haven't paid attention to the first part of the video, it was daylight outside. Now it's late. It's dark. It's like 11 something. It's definitely a Monday, and a lot of Monday things happen today, and a lot of Mondayings happened during the recording of this video because it was never supposed to be this late finishing. But here we are. And this is our reward. Look at these right proper bear claws. I was actually quite worried about them before they went in the oven because they started to tear and the butter started leaking and they looked mangled and alien. But look at them. They weren't showers. They're growers. Look at these guys. This guy bloomed right up, and not sure what this is, but it's not a bear claw. Alright, so there's only one thing to do, and that's to try them. Alright guys, and this side is from the pan that had the homemade almond filling. And this side to the left is the one that used the store-bought almond paste that we made into a filling. Now guys, normally I preach making your own stuff, but in this instance, I don't think the store-bought almond paste really saved you any time or any convenience really. And to me, making the almond filling from scratch actually took less time and was easier. So it all boils down to one thing. Is there a difference in taste? So let's go ahead and try these out. This is from side A with the homemade filling that I made. This one goes to Miss Man Chef. Now I'm liking what I'm tasting here. We did lose some butter. There's obviously some tears at the back of the dough. But we still kept that thick, flaky Danish type pastry intact, and it's really buttery. It's not greasy. It has a load of a traditional almond cinnamon flavor. I didn't know how this was going to turn out, and honestly, I thought this was going to end up being ditched. But we might know what we're doing sometimes. Alright. And this is from pan number 2 with the store-bought almond paste. Honestly, both are gold. I think I do prefer the texture of the filling made with the store-bought almond paste. But either way you look at it, the flavor is there. They're both incredible. So, try it both ways, and let me know what you think. This is perfect for the holidays, you guys. In Virginia, where I live, you don't see these anymore. And a lot of people don't even know what they are anymore. You used to be able to buy these all the time, and it's a shame. So you can make bear claws come back in your kitchen, be the baker, steal Christmas breakfast, or the dessert table at Christmas dinner. These things are absolutely incredible. Until next time, this is your boy, the Mad Chef. Until next time, this is your boy, the Mad Chef. And this has been another episode of Unhinged Holiday Cooking. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever you celebrate, just be happy. Love you guys. See you in the next video.